So I met up with some friends at the edge of the night at a bar off 75. And we talked and talked about how our parents will die, all our neighbors and wives. And I'd like to think I could cheat it all to make up for the times I've been cheated on. And it's nice to know when I was left for dead, I was found, and now I don't roam these streets. I am not the ghost you are to me. If you're lost and alone, or you're sinking like a stone, carry on. May your past be the sound of the feet upon the ground. Carry on. Whoa, my head is on fire, but my legs are fine. After all, they are mine. Lay your clothes down on the floor. Close the door, hold the phone. Show me how. No one's ever gonna stop us tonight.
What's up, peeps? Honeybee, I was going to comment before. I was running a few minutes behind. Hopefully, no damage with storms there. Storms are a tough thing. We have them at work. We will get slammed sometimes with them. So hopefully you're good there. Lisa, what's up? A few people in here. So, excuse me. A little too much of the doctor's medicine there before I got started, I think. We call that Paul Coffee weed here in Pittsburgh. He was a guy that played hockey for the Penguins. And the weed makes you cough. Call it Paul Coffee. We're simple here in more than one way. The case that got me into the true crime, the genre, I think I was more into studying past cases that were solved, serial killers, stuff like that. Got real into the psychology of it all. I told people that some of the scenes in the movie Mindhunter were filmed in my town. They wanted a town that looked like the 70s still, and in a lot of occasions we are that. So I really got into it. I've got a question from Honeybee here. No one that I know of, although I'm not sure. We have a strike team, Pennsylvania, and anyone you can volunteer for that. You have to have a certain level of training, and you get all the training. Then when you go, you get paid or whatever. But I don't know if they got called up or not. But no, I don't know anyone personally. Storms aren't there yet. All right, good beat. I don't think I'm going to talk that long tonight, although I don't know. I don't think, some people, they can go for a long time on YouTube. I like to keep it an hour and a half. But anyway, so Delphi brings me in. As I'm looking up videos on YouTube, it's just like the Delphi. So finally, I'm like, oh, okay, what is this? What is this case? And as most of you already know, if you're here or if you're even into this stuff at all, you probably have heard of Delphi. Very familiar with it. Murder of 2 young girls. And then all the secrecy and everything else around it. You have, and many people have said this over and over, but you had a video of the guy, you had audio, assuming that the video, the initial still picture, then the moving picture, and the audio is the same person. We have never gotten that. Law enforcement has never, that I know of, that I could find, and said, yeah, that voice is that guy. Both of those cuts are that guy. There's other videos that I found that I've did like a lot of research from the rear, or kind of reversing it, where I would listen to these early comments that were made by law enforcement before everything was kind of hush hush, where it seemed like everyone thought this case was going to get solved really quick initially. Now, the FBI obviously thought Ron Logan either did it or had some knowledge of it. So they were either leaning on him or thought he did it. I don't know if initially the locals thought that, but there's obviously been a Jinx is here. What's up, Jinx? Obviously, there's some kind of FBI, state, local. There's some kind of beef going on there, and it's hard to explain. I know a little bit about what goes on there from Florida. Guy's wrong. They're just, that's what they do. But I don't know. Cover up could be. You can't say it's not. But let's talk about like what we know that law enforcement has came out and said these things. They've said that they've already been whatever else they had going on. But what do we actually know? Okay. There's a couple things that I think people take for granted that's we don't know for sure, but it's part of the narrative that's been formed. And I'm not saying that the narrative was steered a certain way by certain people. Maybe it was. It just could be what has been putting out for so long. Like the bullet that they found, right? That was kept under wraps pretty much. Not really anyone really had that. I know other people have said things. Oh, I didn't know Ruck was on right now. Thanks for being here, Jinx. Hi, Kathy. But like they kept that under wraps. I don't know anyone that had that. I don't know anyone had Richard Allen, right? Who had that? I certainly didn't. But there's other things that have been rumors that have been proven true, but we can't say they're true yet. So what do we know? The 2 girls were murdered, obviously. The 13th, the 14th, I've heard speculation the tombstones say different things or whatever. You know what? I don't know if that's a huge deal. In the time of death, I got to think that they have it really, really narrowed down because of the technology that they have. Even in 2017, I got to think that they have that narrowed down to probably within an hour and a half window. And they have not actually said that, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen anything where they said the time of death was blah, blah, blah. Autopsy reports aren't always released. They weren't leaked. There was some bullshit stuff going around a while back, and I think that's pretty well been refuted. Just the way that it was typed up and written, you could tell that it wasn't an actual real document. But what do we know? The FBI document said one time, right? 1 o'clock or around 1 o'clock, right? The FBI warrant. Well, everyone else is like 1:40. There's like a 40-minute difference. And I've heard different creators talk about this, and I assume this is what they're talking about. I don't want to say that they are, but there's a couple. They're former policemen, and they say the timelines are wrong. The timelines are wrong. The timelines are wrong. It can't be this. This can't be this. And they're going off that FBI document. So what's up with the timeline? How different is it? Here's something else that I always think about, because I attack cases from like the psychological aspect. You're not going to purposely drive 2 young girls or 2 people of any stature across that stream, across that creek. That could not have been the plan from this person. So a couple different things are possible there, right? They got down the hill and they tried to escape, and that was their way to escape, because otherwise it's landlocked. Maybe they think if they run in there, they could get away, even though he produces a gun. We're pretty sure, again, that's something else. I'm pretty sure of that, but has it ever officially been, stated by law enforcement? But I think that's something else that everyone's pretty sure on, but who knows? Or did they not cross the creek? Meaning, were they taken off the bridge and transported and then brought back later at some point, or whatever the case may be, but they didn't cross the creek? So that could not have been the plan. In my opinion, that could not have been the plan. But no one has ever said that. Law enforcement, as far as I can tell in all the interviews that I watch, and if I'm wrong, someone share it. You can share it on my community page. You can email it to me. And then now that's one thing I can check off my list and go look at something else. But if they ever said that they crossed the creek at that time, right? Everybody assumes that. I don't know that. It's not a deep, crazy conspiracy. It could have been a plan. I believe multiple people were involved. McClellan said that in a hearing, that they're still searching because there could be other people involved. They never probably said it, but I think at this point, I don't know how many lone wolf people are left. Maybe you're right. I don't see how it's possible that he's a lone wolf. We don't know for a fact if Keegan Kline is involved, right? I think he is. I wholeheartedly think he is, especially after everything. There's too many coincidences going on. Just this last time when Kline had a plea to to say that he was going to plead what he pled before, right? I'm not an attorney. Did you guys stay with me on that? He had paperwork making a plea to say that he's still going to plead what he pled before is pretty much it for a layman. Let's get some questions here. Yeah, the FBI was there very early. They were actually there so early. Some people were like, oh, maybe they were in on it. I don't think the FBI was in on it. I wouldn't rule anything out, but yeah, I don't, because if you're the killer, you have to cross the creek too. Maybe you've taken precautions. Maybe there's some under the pants. I don't know, but I just can't think. Lisa thinks it's a lone wolf. Yeah, Lisa, there's like I said, we're not going to know. And one of my other theories that for the, not for the bloodlust or for the wanting to know intimate details, but just wanting to know who else was involved and what their involvement was. You don't have to tell me exactly what happened, but we might not get to that point. There could be pleads. I fully think that Richard Allen will plead, especially if he's a lone wolf. I think I can't imagine that dude hasn't rolled already. This is what I said when he got arrested. I talked to Ruckus about this before, from like the psychological angle of it. He's not an alpha male. He's a shorter guy, and there's nothing against shorter guys, but there could be like a Napoleon or automatically like thinking down about himself, and he has to prove himself to everybody. Didn't seem to be that way. Didn't talk a lot. The video where he's sitting in the passenger seat of his car, of his wife's car, and he jumps, and everyone freaks out that he jumps. Oh, he jumped. What's he looking at? It could be, who knows what he's looking at, right? Could be looking at anything, but to me, that's a big deal. A serial killer is not going to let his wife drive him around, right? A person that's maybe fantasizing about killing, is it possible? Yeah, but they have to control everything. Driving the car or letting someone else drive the car, that's a what do they call it? Oh, I'm having a mental block like I do in my old age of 44. It's like it's like a analogy. Hey, someone else is driving the bus or someone else is driving the car. Oh, the wife wears the pants, the wife drives the car. That I'm not saying anything's wrong with that at all. Believe me, I'm cool with whoever drives. My girlfriend has a small car and I don't fit in it. So I'm trying to get to your questions or your comments here. But to me, that was a big deal. So that tells me like maybe he did roll. That's a theory. Maybe he rolled in November. And they're just playing this out like they did with Keegan Kline. Ruckus mentioned to me, we talked on air and off air about how these CSAM things work. And he said the investigation, let's say you have one guy and he's creating it or whatever the hell he's doing, these sick bastards. And for that one guy, there's so many things that branch off that they have to look at for that one guy. So if you get put in a network, right? Yeah, I saw the video with Frosty. And I know from experience, I've had river rescue training, Swift Water. We go up to a place that's about an hour north of where we are, and it becomes very rural up there. They get control the water. It's like a training stream. There's a little overhead dam, real small. You can't really get hurt. I mean, you could twist an ankle, maybe break a leg, but they control the water actually. So it'll let out more water or less water depending on what training's going on. And then when no one's training, it just leave it go, and it's a nice little stream. But we tried to cross it, and it was about thigh high. And the guys like, who thinks you could? I'm like, oh, I could cross. I can swim great. That water, it only knee high to thigh high water, man. It is tough. And then not to mention that you're not walking on a flat surface underneath. You're not running across there because the water's too high. You're not gonna get your legs out of the water high enough, and then you're stepping on rocks and everything else. So again, without having the autopsy reports and knowing that, it was water, did they have water in their lungs? But again, did Ellie ever say that they crossed? And I'm not saying that law enforcement's the end all be all. I'm going to beat them up a little bit here in a little while. But, to a certain extent, they need to say it for it to be totally factual. However, we see a lot of things that have come out of this case slowly but surely that have turned into fact. So. Yeah, that guy was something else from Michigan State. Yeah, so he got, I forget the guy's name from the FBI, but he got ousted over that, and that was kind of I think it was an overlap in time. Lisa, right? Would that have been around the murders, the time that he was getting that sick doctor that we had for USA Gymnastics. I agree, Honeybee. Like, so maybe something happened. Maybe they did cross. I'm not saying that they did. I'm just saying no one's ever said to me that I could definitively say they crossed that creek. And with that road right there, like, if he's forcing them off the bridge down that hill, right? So is his goal to get them to cross the creek, or is there a vehicle, or is there something else going on there, or does he have a plan to do something underneath the bridge on that side? And I know I've only seen videos of the topography. That'd be a good question for Frosty or for people that have been there. When you go down that hill, is there anywhere to go other than that private road, unless you cross the creek? Or as we say here in Pennsylvania, crick. Yeah, Kathy, not a fan of the FBI. Well, it's so hard to be, I'm always kind of pro law enforcement, but you see things and it's, yeah, the bureau chief that ran that place with did that investigation into the USA Gymnastics, and it was he was fired. I think, pretty sure he was just totally taken out of being an FBI. But Lisa, yeah, I just have a thing here. I'm going to read this to you guys. I'm glad it's a good segue by Lisa, who didn't even know it. So you guys know, if you don't, big John Douglas guy. John Douglas, one of the beginning pro guys that were there at the beginning of the behavior analysis unit in the FBI, the mind hunters, so to speak, however you want to say it. So what I was doing was talking about the two different sketches. So Jim Clemente did podcast, Best Case, Worst Case podcast, episode 123. It's from a couple years ago. And they're asking him about Delphi and about different things like that. And he believes, it's a younger person that did this. It's not going to be an older person. And he kind of goes into things here, but something that was very, very interesting. And they're talking, and Jim Clemente, I kind of told you about him. He's kind of like John Douglas Jr., Francis Hacks, former state and federal prosecutor. There's Bobby Chacon, retired FBI agent. Maureen O'Connell, retired FBI special agent. And they're having like this talk in this podcast, and it's very good. I'll post the link in my community page after this. So they begin talking about like the different sketches. So just let me read you this. So this is Maureen O'Connell, retired FBI special agent. Sometime before the press conference, the ISP started putting out info. Expect a huge announcement on the Delphi murders and big information coming on the Delphi murders. It was a bit of a frenzy. I think it was interesting that law enforcement was giving us that much notice ahead of time. This was the second press conference, right? So that's when the whole, we changed, course or switched gears or whatever, however it was used. But this is what Clemente says about it. Let me make sure I catch up on the chat here. Public Art Critic says, doesn't think Ari was the killer. Hey, you know what? Anybody, I should have said this before too. There's a lot of people that are really going at each other over Delphi right now. And it's good that people have passion, but guys, like it's, if someone disagrees with your point of view, you shouldn't bash them or attack them. And people, are saying, oh, maybe the family's involved. I personally don't think that they are. I haven't seen anything that leads me that way at all. But I understand people being protective of them. But at the same time, if you're going to question something, we don't know the answers to it yet. How could you say that? So I would just say that respect what everybody thinks. But Public Art Critic, you might be right. Indiana, the way they charge for murder is a little bit different than they do here in Pennsylvania. But I do think he was 100% involved in some way, shape, or form and could have been the killer. But I certainly respect what everybody feels. Digital, that's a good point. That's possible too. I think that I see where you are because I was there before. I think that maybe now, personally, that there was some more of a connection there with Keegan and whoever else, maybe, and Alan and whoever else is involved. But yeah, that certainly could have been possible. And we don't even know how he was like pimping his phone out or like selling it to people or whatever he was doing. We don't have all that yet. So I don't know if I'm tall as a giant. I'm 6'3". My one son's 6'3". My other son's about 6'5". Yeah, and you know what? You look at it, and I'm not saying anyone should go do this, but the summer's there. If there's a place where you can go, and if you get washed down, it's like, ankle high water. You're there with people. Do it in a safe way, but give it a try because it's difficult to do. They teach us to walk with boat oars, like we have the little Zodiac blow-up boats. So they teach you to walk like with the boat oar, and you kind of use that as like a cane. And there's a technique where you walk, where you interlock your legs. So if you see what those folks were doing in that creek search for Delphi, there's a video. Some people thought maybe there's bodies in the creek there at that time. Personally, I don't think that. I cannot tell you definitively because I have no proof, and this is Delphi. And unless I have proof, I'm not going to come out and say 100%. I don't see that. I could see how things move and things like that. It made me think of something. If I could just step back real quick, Gary Ridgway, one of the girls that he posed, he was putting them in water. Obviously, a Green River Killer. Not all of them, though. One of the girls he posed, and I think he did it intentionally, where she was like on the bend of a river. And when they found her, she was like half in the water, and her hand was moving back and forth like it was waving. And, later on, they talked to Ridgway about it. And I never got what he felt, but to me, and he was a sick fucking guy. To me, that had been his like opus. Like he was able to do that. So that instantly made me think when someone said there looked like something was moving around. It could have been, but I don't believe it was. But anyways, what they were doing that day, I don't know if they were doing a grid search. They were locked in because that water was moving fast. So my opinion from what I saw from the helicopter footage is obviously they're doing some kind of detailed search because they think that the girls crossed in that area. Something led them to believe that, I think. Or else why would they be searching right there, right? They would have started probably close to the bridge as they could and worked their way all the way away from it in one direction to the other because they didn't know if they crossed, where could they have crossed at? And again, the dogs would have been so good right there because you'd have been able to tell immediately to lead them to the water. Did they go to the bank? If they're hitting on the road right there, then they got into a car. If them dogs are hitting on the road and the scent disappears, they got into a car. You could have ruled that out right away. You could have ruled out, dogs would have taken you to where they crossed the creek at. I keep saying the river, I'm sorry. Where they crossed the creek at. The dogs would have taken you to that spot. And you could have said, it ends here. They had to go in the water here. They had to go in the water. And depending how many dogs you got, you could have picked up scents, multiple scents, but I have it a little further down to kind of not bash law enforcement, but trying to get everyone comments. Public art's new here, I think, to my page. Welcome. Everyone can say what they like as long as they're nice to each other. Yeah, and Jinx, the worst part, the muddiest part is where that water hits. Like that, like it's like sludge when you go in. And then as you go out a little further, it gets a little harder. Now, different water, different soil makeup will tell you different things. And that creek's nasty. Meow has a couple things on where she talked about the floodplain and the chemicals that are in there. So anyone that goes up there to do that, I applaud you, but just be careful because I don't know if that water is like the Lisa's familiar with the area. Always good to know. I think we talked about something else from the area too. I agree with you, Honeybee. I think several people involved. Motive. I have a couple of things to talk about motive, but I don't have any idea. You've heard crazy things, off the wall things, but are they off the wall? We can't rule them out, right? So people, especially with Delphi, I haven't gotten into the Idaho case as much. And Delphi was my first jumping off point for all this. So I don't know if other cases get this crazy with theories, but yeah, you're right. And then anyone that maybe, I don't know if Lisa could help. I don't know anyone familiar with the creek area. So where they think they crossed was kind of the optimal place to cross as far as the sandbar area, that island. You can see that island there usually in the summer. And then you have that tree that's kind of bent over, sticking out. If you're ever looking, that's kind of like sets off the area where the girls were found at. But so could the girls, knowing the creek, could they have ran there and said, hey, we have a better chance to get away here? Clearly if they crossed there, clearly they got to cross one way, shape, or form. So I don't know. I saw that there's pictures of Detective Vito looking down at the bank. Some people say there's blood in the picture. I don't see that, but the way that they're looking, they think, in my opinion, they think that they crossed there. So what made them think that they crossed there? What led them to that? Was it the shoe? Where's the shoe found? Originally, it was always on the road. It was on the private drive. And then, no, there's a picture of it over here. So again, we don't know for sure. I don't think that Gavin Fish dude was lying or anything, but how do we know for sure without we don't? And it could come out. That could be one of the things that come out and say, yeah, this was actually 100% accurate, but we don't know that. Oh, cool. Thank you, Jinx. Well, no one's crazy. I mean, no one's bashing anybody or just, but I don't know if anyone else that has really covered or been in the cases, are they all this crazy? No. You know what? Somebody's theory is right. There's so many people covered. Somebody's theory, I think, has to be right. As long as you're not out there, slandering people, it's tough. You want to give your theories, you can't say people's names, and you have to be careful because you could be wrong. We're not detectives. Yeah, outside the box. Delphi is the outside the box case. I agree with you, Digital. I think all you guys are kind of spot on, even if we disagree with things. It is almost like a tale of fiction, Lisa. It's just beyond bizarre. It's yeah. Well, Tanisha, if you read you would agree with the FBI, the lady that wrote the FBI thing, because for me, that's what that FBI report says, and you'd be in good company with someone that investigates murders for the FBI, right? I just can't see how here's the Ron Logan thing that puzzles me. There's a couple things, three different things about Logan that puzzles me. I need to know that phone call, who that phone call or that text was made to or from, and I think it was like 8:30 at night, the night that the girls went missing. Could that be Ron Logan discovering the crime scene on his property? Like, what the fuck do I do now? I don't trust the police. I'm a habitual drunk driver. I mean, I've had issues before. I have guns at the house. I shouldn't have X, Y, and Z. I know they don't like me, blah, 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 blah. He's thinking irrationally. And let's be honest, if you find girls' dead bodies on your property and you're an alcoholic, you're jumping in a bottle. So that dude might not have been thinking rationally. I personally don't think he was involved in the murders. I don't even know if he knew anything about it leading up to it. But he somehow got wind of what happened and to make an alibi and when to make the alibi. So how would he know that? Would he have talked to someone who participated? That's possible. Did he know? Was he looking out for somebody? When do you draw the line? Two dead girls. Do you cover up for a brother, for a child? Do you turn anyone into two murders, two dead girls? How do you feel? So I looked at Ron Logan like that, and I need to know who made that call or who that was to, because I think that would send us a long way. That was, could that have been the call? Could that have been, hey, listen, what did you guys do? Or could someone have called him and said, hey, here's where you need to go look? I don't know. So that's something that I never understood about Ron Logan. We might never get that answer, but to me, that would give us some information of what was going on. The speculation, other people speculated that he came upon the crime scene and tried to somehow hide it, or maybe chemically alter it by using, some kind of bleach or some kind of thing to kill DNA and other things like that. I believe that was done at that crime scene. I don't have proof of that, but I've read it in enough places and seen enough things, and certain patterns have developed with information comes out. And if you could kind of follow that pattern, so it's serpentines around, and maybe on a third S turn, you could tell this is going to come back right. And you could kind of jump on it a little bit early. I thought that early on, and I kind of think it now still. So if you look at the one picture that I posted in the video that I played early on, that I played here, I always try to do a video, promo video for a live stream. It's taken from Richard Allen's wife's Facebook page, and it was some kind of joke about being constipated or something. But it's a goddamn spray toilet foam, and that is exactly what I theorized. Someone used at the scene to destroy DNA or try to destroy things at the scene. You know, I'm not saying there's theory bridge guy was carrying this spray with him. I'm not saying anything like that, but I think at some point that was used there. So the other Logan, you know, the questions that you have for him is, you know, why do you only get the you don't ask about the transfer station, about driving there, right? You only get a cover for this. And a lot of people point at that. I don't know if he just didn't even think that they would know he went to the transfer station. You know, he's dealt with the law many times. He should know that they're going to look at the video, but I don't know. But personally, Ron Logan involved with the murders? I don't think so. Could he had some kind of cover up to do after? Could he somehow got sucked into something? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, whoever, even if these people plead out, and hopefully they get them all. That's the main thing. Get them all and put them in jail for a goddamn long period of time. Like forever. How about forever? I'm sentenced forever plus 20 fuck you more years. That, if I'm a judge, you get forever, fuck you plus 20 more. So you're gonna have to die, and then you got to serve 2 decades. But we get it all out there. So I think that at some point, yeah, this is what happened after. You're gonna get something, but you might not get, you know, the blow for blow. Maybe we don't need the blow for blow, but I think Richard Allen's posing and posturing to cop some kind of plea. You know, they're gonna let this play out a little bit, but you know, he comes up and Keegan Kline comes up again. You know, Kline goes to court, then this Richard Allen thing comes out where he's, you know, the ruling comes out, you know, about these are good and these are bad. And that's what, a day apart, or was that the same day? If that was a day apart or if that was the same day. That's like, how does that every time that one of them has court papers, the next day or the day before, the other releases something? You could go back and look. It's crazy. And I just can't think it's a coincidence. Everyone's talking about their height. Hello, Nomad. Hold on there, public art critic. Theory based on assumptions and following the case for too long. There was a party. Girls were tricked there. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, so the intention was not to kill. It just something went haywire. Yeah. I've heard of theories like that, public art critic. I haven't heard it put like that, but that's a very interesting theory. Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I've heard theories about parties the night before, whether it was party at Cemetery, party at Logan's, pig roast, all this other crazy stuff. Maybe it isn't crazy though. You know what I mean? Like, enough people talk about it. Let me make sure nobody talking about their height, talking about dogs, powerful noses. Oh. Good point here. K. Smith. Kid playing in the woods, my friends, you had to know what you were doing. Walking. Yeah, absolutely. We did that too. I live, actually, I only live almost a block away from my childhood home where my mom lives at, and my stepdad still live. And we lived down by a river, and there was trails, and there was little inlets of the river where they would get real muddy, and we'd go down there up until like 12 or 13. You know, we had to cross a main street to get there, but then it's all, you know, but you knew you step here, don't step here, or even jumping off of like the bridges and stuff like that, like you shouldn't have done. You knew where to do it and where not to do it. Yeah, you're right, Jinx. You're right. You definitely see it a lot. You can see it in the summertime. I just wonder if, you know, I'm just trying to think of I can't get a reason why anyone wanting to do what they did would have pushed them over there that way. Jinx is close. Honeybee, they were not brought there after the fact because it would have left more evidence. Yeah. They said that there was a lot of blood lost at the scene, right? The FBI warrant. So it's hard to imagine because you got to keep this in mind too. People have said, well, if they brought them back there post mortem or after they were dead, and then they began to do X, Y, and Z. Well, you remember your heart's not pumping blood anymore, right? When you're deceased. Now you could still not say you can't bleed anymore, but you're never going to get that. Any kind of fine droplets or anything like that, any kind of arterial splatter. There's not going to be anything like that if you are deceased. At least I'm pretty sure of that. There still is going to be blood loss, but so that if you read the FBI warrant, that the crime happened there. So we all might be sort of right. Like I'm a part of my theory might be right, part might be wrong. Someone else's same thing, Yeah, well, maybe that was a police officer, Nomad, or people said, hey, look, if they crossed, they'd have crossed here because everyone, that's where, the locals know, hey, this is where we cross at. I don't know. Was the clarification that was in the water? I don't know if I saw that interview. I'm assuming you're talking about Arizona State, like on her speaking thing she did. I've heard things about tunnels too, and someone else was talking about something that was, I don't know if it was an abandoned mine or something that someone thought might have been a tunnel or a tunnel system, but again, that's the locals. The locals, that's who knows that. The locals are really good for information. Now they can pick up rumor and innuendo sometimes too. That happens, but man, if you want to know the scoop of what's going on in the town, you don't really necessarily want to go to the police department. You want to go to some locals that are. Maybe they're not involved in anything. Maybe they're just the guy at the bar. Hey, hanging out. How you doing? Hey, I might smoke a joint in my car, but I don't do anything else. Hey, where do I get meth? Well, I don't do any meth, but if I did, that guy over there shooting pool, I'd go tell him blah, blah, blah. Hey, where can I get some coke? Oh, I don't do coke. But, so you have people like that in town that kind of just know what's going on. And maybe the police just didn't. But you heard things early on, and if you go back now, even interviews that they'll do with people in the street, Rand, hey, how do you feel about this? Oh, we heard this, we heard that. There's so many interviews. There's a lady and her son that are at the bridge getting interviewed. She's probably in her 40s or 50s. She's probably in her 20s. She said she tipped in a guy because they were, was it carpenter pants or something, she said. And the guy, whoever she tipped it into, the police officer said, oh, yeah, I used to work with a guy like that, blah, blah, blah. And these little things that you're getting, now that might have went nowhere. That might have been one of them, one of the 10,000 tips that went absolutely nowhere. But you're all right, Sandy. All right, so I'm going to get back here to my little spiel. I'll try to catch up on everything here if anyone has any pertinent or if I screw anything up. Okay, I hope I answered your question. There are tunnels here where I'm from. Delphi After Dark talked about the text. You talk about the Erskine text? I'm trying to, you know what? I'm better off. But anyways, let me get back to this Jim Clemente thing, okay? So they talk about the second press conference that there's a killer in this room, and hold on a second. Jim Clemente says this. I know the press conference was scripted by the behavioral analysis unit. Everything was scripted. The lead up to it, the press in advance, the way they want the killer to know that they're coming for him. They now have a laser focus on him because that is going to let others around him know that his behavior is changing. Ever since he heard the press conference, his behavior has changed. He will do things that will put a spotlight on him. So they think that was the point of it. And then Francie says they invited the extra media. They had extra seating available, yet didn't take a single question. Couldn't that be a setup to see if the killer arrived? And Jim Clemente said, absolutely. I theorize, I have no proof of this. I theorize that whole room was what the Wabash and Erie. Someone correct me on this in the chat. Like Wabash and Erie social hall, or social hall might not be the right word, but I totally theorized that they had that room totally wired up with cameras. So they were shooting everyone. Everyone had their picture taken going in, whatever it was. So whoever they were looking for, or maybe they were looking at a couple of different people, or maybe they were just looking at reactions. Maybe they were talking to a profile, right? Which was never been released, which I can't find. I have non-FBI people. John Kelly's a guy that I follow, a profiler. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. I recommend you follow him. He's not affiliated with anybody. Him and his buddies do profiles, and I've heard theirs, but I haven't heard what the FBI thing is. And John Kelly's is also one person, but without seeing crime scene pictures, without doing all the X's and O's investigatively, it's so hard for anyone from the outside to do it. You hear a lot of blood loss. You hear edged or bladed weapon. So that takes you to a place that you can rule certain type of people out. This obviously wasn't a God complex killer. This wasn't a sniper. This wasn't a mission-oriented killer. This person wasn't making a statement for a political purpose, like a bombing somewhere or something like that. But that's what I mean by that, where they're shooting up churches or things like that. So you could kind of pare that down, and the intimate nature, what we do know from the FBI document, the blood loss, it's but past that, it's hard to say without that profile. And I've heard different rumors of why they won't release the profile, but again, that's just all. Okay, I'm about tunnels here. Leave it to the local experts on that. Tanisha, that is a speculation on my part. That's what I said. I put that spray, that it's like a spray toilet foam, and through my research and just things that I've seen, that like the people that are usually giving good information have been giving that to, and law enforcement's hinting at it, but no one said anything. But a lot of people theorize some kind of chemical was used at the scene to contaminate the crime scene. Other people speculate chemicals were used on the girls to subdue them. I haven't seen any proof of that, but I certainly can't disprove it either, like anything else here. But I speculate that someone sprayed something, and it was a spray foam. I'm going to go as far as speculate it was some kind of spray foam, like a toilet foam. And that was before the arrest in October. So then when the arrest was made of Richard Allen, I'm doing all my, internet research, and I find his wife's Facebook page. And I was probably one of the first people to get to it. Everything was wide open at the time, and I saw that, and I took a picture. I screenshot it. I was like, this is just bizarre. It feels weird to me. Now, I could be way off, but again, Tanisha, that is just speculation on my part. But there's a lot more people that have speculated that too. So Honeybee said we do not know that for sure. I could have just put Honeybee's comment in instead of blabbing for 5 minutes there. Sorry, Tanisha. Yeah, that's a speculation that I have. And then that speculation, so let's assume just for 1 second that that's true. There was chemicals used there. Let's just assume, we don't know that for a fact. Now, who put it there? Did someone bring it with them? Did someone do this later? Did Ron Logan show up and do it later? People have shown pictures of chemicals on Ron Logan's property, a chemical cleaner. But again, that's Delphi. So you speculate on this one thing, and it doesn't stop there. It roots out 50 different heads. So it's so hard to research something. You go down so many rabbit holes with this stuff. I spent so much time on that cleaner stuff and just reading comments all across different platforms, and talking to people about it, and some we're sure it was this, and we're sure this person did it. Well, I'm not sure of either. I think that's a speculation, but like anything else in this case, though, it is just Nomad agrees with public art. Yeah, that's the first time I heard that theory put like totally together like that, and that's not. I actually, it's something I'd like to look into. When I have theories, and this is an old cop buddy of mine, investigator, says, you think you know who did it, try to prove that he didn't do it. Do everything you can to prove that he didn't do it. So try to disprove your theory. And if you can't disprove your theory, then you kind of put it over here. Well, maybe this is a fact. So law enforcement, we don't think is going to put anything out purposely to mislead the public. However, if they think that by putting something little out that's going to mislead the public is going to help in the investigation or help with the arrest, does the ends justify the means? I mean, you're losing trust in the public, but I don't know. And I'm not saying that was done here, but there's a couple other things, and one just came up. So we talked about that name that they were using. I don't want to say the guy's name because it's spelled very bizarrely, but it was listed as one of Richard Allen's aliases. Okay, and it was another clerical error because I posted it on my community page. You could go there from yesterday, the day before, and see what I'm talking about. Clerical error. How in the fuck? How are you posting an alias on a dude that you arrested for maybe the biggest double murder in Indiana in his history? Maybe it's not even close. I don't know. I'm not an Indiana historian, but it's got to be one of the biggest murders in the history of Indiana. And you accidentally post a fake alias. And that's like the clerical error with, we were looking through files from Val or Richard Allen. Oh, here's a guy that was there that's dressed like the guy on the bridge that says he was on a bridge. And we never... Could someone have said, could that conservation officer have told the local police, hey, I know Richard Allen. He ain't doing that. It's not him. And could the good old boys just have thought, well, hey, so-and-so from the so-and-so department said this guy's a good guy, so I take his word. Could that have happened? Sure, it could have happened. I hope it didn't happen for 2 years. And then that 2-year press conference, were they on Richard Allen? Right? Were they? I don't know. It's mind-blowing. I think that you'll get those answers like that. Carter will tell you after case, we knew it was him. We didn't know it was him or whatever the case may be. And we don't need intimate details of the crime. Some people do. Some people are sick and want to hear it. Some people are just interested and just want to see and put it together like a puzzle. And it isn't a sickness or an illness. It's just like I'm putting this puzzle together. I'm okay if we just know the actors who did it, what their roles were. You know what I mean? These two guys put hands on them. These ones were this or whatever the case may be. Get back to some comments here. Glad everybody's chucking it up tonight in the chat. If I screw anything up or speak out of, say some bullshit, guys, let me know. The dogs. I have my dog too. He's upstairs. It's pretty warm here in PA. It's like 90. Look at my hair on. He's upstairs laying down. Wow, that's new. I haven't heard that one before. We've obviously heard of the animal hair, right? Richard Allen or thing or whatever it was. Animal DNA. I shouldn't say animal hair. Animal DNA. Whatever the case was. I won't. You can't roll anything out. You can't roll anything out. People rescuing dogs here. Good job. What digital got? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Anybody that we live right there. So yeah. It'd be interesting to know what the original use tunnels like. So people might call them tunnels. Other people might say, well, that's not actually a tunnel. That's a mine shaft or whatever. But it seems like, what everyone here is saying that's local is there's something there. It'd be interesting to know what the original purpose was. I assume you're talking about the podcast show that did the thing, Lisa. I'm a dog person. Anybody follows? We got 3 shifts ago. I don't even remember. We got 10 dogs out. It wasn't a bad fire. It was a stove. They left their air fryer on the stove, and I almost left the burner on the gas stove and melted the air fryer, caught the wall. 7 pit bull puppies, mom and dad, and a chihuahua. And the chihuahua was the biggest pain to get out. She did not want to come. Public art critic. Now you're talking my language there too. There is yeah, they can track all that. Yep. They have really, really cool technology with first of all, you have the guys and gals that can read body language, which I'm into. I'm such a novice at it. But so it's hard to lie. They might not be able to prove in court that you're lying, but they could sit back there and say, wow, that made him uncomfortable. Go back and watch the press conference, the second one where the killer may be in this room, and watch Carter. I try to watch Carter and Lesenby, and what are they looking at? So I watched it a couple times with the sound off, and when I would see different reactions from them, I'm like, well, what are they talking about right here? And usually it was like when they were directly talking to people, where I thought they were directly talking to people. Where were they looking in the room? Then I try to get pictures and say who was in the room that way, but that's a big rabbit hole. I'll tell you this, in my opinion, when Carter does the sniffling, he's disgusted. He's pissed. That's what I think. I could be wrong on that. The behavior panel is a good channel to watch for that. I could be totally full of shit on that, but that's my opinion. He's disgusted. Dave. Yeah, I keep blabbing. You're right. So you put a microphone or something in front of me, I will talk. That's definitely possible too. I've heard a lot of good theories that have explained kind of how they got moved or wherever they were taken to willingly. So that's I like hearing everybody's theories because none of us, we don't know, right? Yes, I was, Dave. That was during football season, college football season. Yeah, I remember that. I was probably watching like 4 different YouTube channels at one time, right? So I had on my phone and the TV, and they were all covering, we're waiting. We're going back and forth. We're calling this news station. And it was just like, holy shit, this is really happening. And I broke away from my usual watching like college football Saturdays when I'm off and not working. And I was totally into it. And then, yeah. Yes, I heard that too. Digital. Ron Logan has a water hose long enough for the scene. I also heard again a totally unsubstantiated rumors. They found a lot of blood underneath the leaves. It was either pushed around or hosed off or whatever. Again, unsubstantiated rumor, but I read it in a lot of places, and you would think that there would have to be something done to this crime scene for them to take 6 years to make an arrest, right? For someone that's that close, like no one's going to boondoggle a case that bad. So what could have been done? And they said there's a lot of evidence, but it's unusual. Different things. Robert Ives interviews. I don't think he's lying in the interviews. Maybe he's not saying things the best way. And signatures, 3 different signatures. Some people said he means items. Well, it's not necessarily a signature. Could be. So is he using the right terminology? And then people argue about the staging in the FBI document versus posing. Well, listen, it ain't really, if you really get into it, it isn't just staging and posing. There's sexual staging. There's all this, there's subcategories upon subcategories for it. Basically, staging is to throw off investigators. You could do it in several different ways. Posing is something you're doing for you. It doesn't have, it's like an MO, it's like a signature. It doesn't have to, you don't have to do this to commit the crime, but you're doing this for some kind of gratification that it's giving you, whether it's giving you power over that person or power over law enforcement. When you're just, if you would murder someone and burn a house down, that's staging. You staged a house fire to cover up your murder. Or if you want to kill someone and make it look like the husband. I don't know, you steal the husband's wedding ring, leave it at the scene or something. So that's stuff like that. So there's so many different subcategories under that too. And without knowing exactly, like, you can't say for sure. So we could theorize what they were doing. And initially my theorize was this was not something done, what Robert Ives was talking about, to keep away from detection. This was something different. And I felt a little better about that theory when I watched that documentary that Fig just had on. And oh my goodness, I can't remember the lady's name. It's a really good documentary. When she's standing where the bodies were found and she's looking around, she said, "This isn't hidden. This is on a stage. This looks staged." Or, I don't know if she meant it that way, but it's like, here, I'm on a stage here. My opinion, and without, I don't need to see crime scene pictures. Just let the experts do it. But, just based on the things that I know for sure and the things that I speculate, I think that they were set up in a way to whoever found them, or for the police or whoever else, was to really, really just sicken people and just, to get the maximum amount of shock is why it was done. So to me, it's like a dirty little fuck you from the maniac or maniacs who did this, more so than throwing off the scent. Now, the bleach, if it was thrown, or any kind of cleaner or any kind of hose, if any of those things did happen, let's assume for a second that they did, that would be a way to clean up the scene. I wouldn't necessarily call that staging, because you're not trying to let them put it on something else or someone else. But they said that the scene was tampered with. I've said that. He never really got into what exactly it was. Catch up on any more questions? Dave's doing the top 5 list of why I don't think KK is involved. I'll listen to it, Dave. We could disagree on that point. That's okay. I think he is. So like I said, investigative method, I need to prove that he isn't. And so far, I haven't been able to do that. But I'm with you. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different theories. And like I said, as long as you're not like attacking people, or, you're accusing someone that ends up not being it. Thanks, everyone, for all the sharing here. That is a real person's name. You don't have an alias if you have no arrest. Yeah, I don't. We're talking about the clerical error that was made, Lisa. I'm assuming. I don't. And the other thing is, it's so bizarre the way it's spelled. Like, it's just. I don't know. I mean, I have nothing against the person who apparently lives in that town. But why? How does that get attached to that? Shouldn't that document be looked over like 1,000 times before it's released? As big as this case is, and even the prosecutor said, "Oh, there's so many eyes on us. We want to do everything of X, Y, and Z." Well, what the fuck with the clerical errors? Geez, how can that be attached to that? I heard them say that, but I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Maybe it's a clerical error that it wasn't supposed to be put on there, but it isn't like they just pulled some name out of the blue and attached it to the paper. My personal opinion. I don't work in the legal system. I'm not a cop. But like, how? Is no one proofreading anything? Goodness gracious, man. Like, this is like a huge case. Yeah, well, someone was talking about it. Where did I read it at? With the Carhartt jacket. I think someone actually was in a community page. And Carhartt is almost a name like Kleenex or Q-tip. Meaning this, when you take it, it's tissue paper, but where I'm from, hey, give me a Kleenex. And it could be goddamn any brand of tissue paper. We call it Kleenex. Q-tip, we call it a Q-tip. Clean our ears. Don't stick it too far in. It could good for cleaning your bowl too, for your weed bowl, your glass bowl. Wet it up, get it in there. Sucks, pull stuff out. Just a tip from a pro. We call that a Q-tip, but it's not actually a Q-tip. The fuck is it even called? I don't even know what it's called. God, I always call it a Q-tip, but that's a name brand. So Carhartt, they could just be saying that's a Carhartt jacket, duck jacket, A lot of people wear them around here. I don't know if they speculate that or they could prove that it is a Carhartt jacket. Maybe they can, right? So let's talk about real quick, and I'll give you my 2 cents on the video, the picture. Just talk about the picture of Abby on the bridge. Is it real? Is it fake? Well, I'm not a camera expert. I'm not a photo expert, so I don't know. I think a lot of Perry from Cop Facts. I know he's taken a beating lately, but I think a lot of him, and I really, really think watching that video and trying to like dig into his psyche, as he's talking, he's tortured. He's tortured talking about this. He knows that this is gonna incite rage onto him, and people were friends or liked him, don't like him anymore, but he feels like he has to get this out. So I fully believe that Perry believes that that's a fake, and he's convinced of it. I don't know. Maybe if I talk to his camera person or his photo person, I can't, I watch other people's videos. I don't know. I just don't know. And if it is fake, now, that's another crazy thing. That branches off 50 different ways too. So I could see how people waste a lot of time on this case, and police too have to run down all this crazy shit. That's why I asked before, do these other cases just have these rabbit holes like this where you just go and go and go? But I don't know. Personally, that would mean the police would either have to be tricked or they purposely put out a fake photo, right? I don't know. I don't think either. Even in Indiana, I don't think they could have been tricked, right? The FBI would have had a look at that. Yeah, again, specific. Yeah, I don't think you're going to stay. I don't think that they're going to say Carhartt unless they know the brand, because they're not going to say a Carhartt style. I would say a duck style jacket or something like that. So I agree. But how do they know that? Is there other pictures? People talked about trail cams or other things people were saw and they never released the video of it. I find it hard to believe, because why would you release it? The more the better, right? You would think, but then again, who knows? Who knows? And that's another rabbit hole there too, if you want to get into it. So that's why, I'm glad everyone's hanging with me here. We're over an hour. We're rolling. Dave, yeah, I could see it too. Now here's what I'll say, like a lone wolf thing. I don't think that it was personally. I don't think that he was just randomly came up on two girls and decided to kill them. There's other people that say, oh, he passed two others or several others in the trail. Why didn't he do it there? Well, that doesn't necessarily make it so. I agree with the people that say that, but not for the reason, because he might have been looking for a specific area. There's people that do that. I don't think that was the case here. I think that he knew they were going to be there somehow through some kind of, personally, I think, some kind of connection to King and Klein, whether they knew each other personally or not, but there was some kind of digital connection, if not a personal connection. I don't necessarily think the King and Klein was there or anything like that personally. I don't think he was personally put hands on anybody. Doesn't seem that type to me. He just seems like a big pussy. All due respect, he just seems like a big bag of pus. He's a watcher. He's not a doer. He likes to watch other people do things. I have thoughts on his dad, but there's no kind of proof of any sort or anything like that. From what I can tell, they're not speaking right now, and I think that that's going to be good for the adjudication of this case. So maybe, let's say Tony's innocent. Maybe he has information, and now he's finally going to give up on Keegan. Hey, he's my kid, but hey, I tell you what, I can't stand. Boom, 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 or vice versa. So the fact that they aren't talking, I think, is going to be good for the investigation, for the Delphi investigation. My personal opinion. Not that it's good that the father and son don't talk, but we know what Keegan did. We could only speculate what Tony did. We don't know. I know a lot of people have defended him, and that's their right to do too. I'm not going to attack anybody either way. But personally, I don't know how he wouldn't know what his son was doing, right? People say the same thing. How does Richard Allen's wife not know that that's him on the bridge? Well, how does Tony not know that his son's doing this stuff? I don't know. Is it possible? Yeah, I guess anything's possible. But I think we'll have a definitive answer. Yeah. Well, the face was covered, so maybe, and again, we take for granted now, and I came into this case a lot later than a lot of you did. This is 2017. No one's face is covered. There's no corona in sight, right? So you would just be doing that either for cold or to disguise yourselves. We catch up here, and I want to hit a few more points. So one of the pictures in the video, okay, this is something you guys can research. He's since passed away. It was a good friend of Tony Klein named Jan Kendall. Jan Kendall's pictures in the video. There's a picture of him being a cop. That picture is actually taken from A Klein's Facebook page. I didn't put whose name it was, but I took it from one of their Facebook pages, and they're saying, you know, he passed away. He was our friend, good guy, blah blah blah. He moved to Las Vegas, right? He was a police officer in Indiana. Can't tell you why he left Indiana to go to Vegas. It's hard to find the reason. I'm not saying anyone's hiding it, but like, I don't know what's going on. But he's in Vegas, and you do your research on him. You know, it's Las Vegas, so kind of anything goes. But he's into some fucking, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was illegal. The guy's passed away. I don't want to sully anyone's name. But he's into some shit, right? He's into some weird shit. As long as it's consenting adults, it's not a problem. But, you know, I don't know. I don't want to draw any lines or any conclusions on this guy who passed away. But you guys research Jan Kendall. Would make sense that if somebody freaked the fuck out, that they were involved in some kind of murder or something, or whatever the case was, they're going to go to Vegas. So what's in Vegas? You don't just drive to Vegas. Well, I'll tell you, he has a friend in Vegas. Keegan has a friend. Yeah, he has a friend. But Jan Kendall's also in Vegas. And I don't know what it is about him. And like I said, he's since passed away. But could he have helped them? Could he have given them information? That's when, you know, Keegan's doing the searches, how long's DNA lasts and stuff like that. One of the theories, and I can't disprove the theory. It's a terrible, sickening theory. But, you know, people talk about a snuff film. The snuff film would have had to be fenced. You wouldn't have been able to send it anywhere electronically. You probably would have had to take some kind of goddamn, I don't even know what, physical little MP3 or something or whatever they had at the time and take it and drop it to someone else. Las Vegas is like the center of the universe for shit like that. So as people that use that theory and go down that route, yeah, I could see where that you connect those dots. There's a whole lot of other dots for me that don't connect on that theory, but you can't rule it out. And that's a terrible, fucking disgusting thing. So these people did it for money because some sick bastard wanted to see this to get his jollies off. That's, you know, it's happened before. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but again, I don't write off anybody's theory. I really, really don't. As long as you're being respectful to people. Well, Dave, I said that before. It absolutely could have been, Dave. I lean your way because I don't think they knew about Richard Allen then. I think that in my opinion, we disagree on this, but in my opinion, that kind of stirred something happened. So they knew about King and Klein way before, right? He's raided in 2017. 2019, 2 years later, a year and a half later, one of the local news stations gets King and Klein's name and say, hey, we're putting this out. Law enforcement, yeah, just slow it down. So they did their thing. So again, to me, that's, and then me and Dave disagree on that. To me, that again links King and Klein into it. But I think if this ever goes to trial, if we ever hear what happened, they were working King and Klein's social media, and something came back. And from there, they were able to take the next step. So maybe Richard Allen contacted that again, or I don't know. And it took them that long to find out who he was. That's just a theory. But yeah, she did. She's a Carhartt jacket. Now, I don't know if she meant specifically Carhartt or she's just using the slang too. Digital. Well, public art critic, I could get down with you on that. Remember the one time too, Carter said in a press conference, or it was some kind of press conference, where I'm pretty sure it was Carter, where, you know, when this all comes out, there's going to be a lot of families devastated. That was made early on. And again, I encourage you all to go back and look at early press conferences because there's information there that doesn't come out now. There's a state police roadshow, I think it's called, where there's like some state police captain. He's like an older, he's real cool, smooth talking, and he has police come on. Well, he's had Stephanie Thompson on, right? In my opinion, she was murdered in a house fire. She did a lot of the Flora lie detector tests, her and her daughter. She was on there before she, moving around. There was the guy, I can't remember what his name was. He was in the initial press conference where they released the video. They played the video on a loop, the older police officer with the glasses. He's since retired. It's not Kim Riley. I can't remember what his name is. My girlfriend always thinks Kim Riley. He's like, oh, he's got some gray hair. He's hot, Kim Riley. You go, girls, ladies think Kim Riley's hotter, guys. I'm not judging anybody. Like the Silver Fox. That's weird, huh? To talk about. But anyways, he says he's on there. And one of the things he says is, you hear that voice, and he's like, people just assume that's one person's voice. I'm not saying that it isn't, but that's not necessarily, one way or the other. So he kind of put speculation into me, because when I heard the initial voice credit or the initial voice edit that they put out, it sounds like two different people. And remember, the one Carter says, yeah, that second voice, or that's the devil. You remember those? Go back and watch them. You just go back, Google police press conference, not Google, Delphi press conferences, police, Doug Carter. You can look at them by name. There's one that I posted a while back where they're out in the woods. I think it's the 1-year anniversary. And I don't know who they're talking about, but they're clearly watching someone come up, because there's a hot mic. There's a couple of hot mics that have happened at these press conferences. I don't think that's on purpose to leak information. I'm not going down that hole. I think they just fucked up. But they're looking at him, and some people would say, "Oh, did he say that here comes the guest of honor?" But they're looking and says, "Is that him? Here he comes. Here he comes." And then that's him, whoever they're looking at. And then they all kind of look forward and kind of like, kind of corner their eye, look at him, kind of, that type of way. So, yeah, but there's a lot of good information when you back check stuff. Hannah Shakespeare, yes, great documentary. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Fig did a great job getting that out. Thank Fig for that, or we never would have saw that. A Eurasian eagle owl. Pretty cool. Yeah, Tanisha, that's pretty good. But you'll see in that one part of the documentary where she's like, this is like stage, it's like up on a stage. How people didn't see that, I get it. I have never walked there, but how you don't find if you're walking at night, even when it's getting dark. Now remember too, if you're not from around like the Midwest, like Pennsylvania's the Midwest still, Indiana obviously more so, whatever you want to call it. But it's getting dark in February at like fucking 5 o'clock. It sucks. But even though it's a warmer day, it's getting dark early. So you're talking, they start looking, or it's after, I think 5:15, they finally call the police for 5, but Derek gets there 3:45, whatever the case is. And they're kind of going back and forth, but it's 4:30, it's starting to get dark. So you're going to lose a lot of sight. But if people walk that shore, could you have missed the bodies? I guess it's possible you could have. The drone that flew over, and we talked about the drone before. I want to get more into that, find out what that guy had, because that's what taught me about body temperature. After about 2 or 3 hours, your body temperature only drops a degree an hour. Now, being wet and being cold can make it drop more. But I'm going to tell you, as someone that uses thermal imaging technology almost every day at work, you're going to see a different color in a heartbeat. They were able to see deer and things like that were actually in the creek, like walking through the creek or stuff. They were able to see that deer there. So they were able to see all that, but they did not see the bodies, and they should have. They should have. In that time frame, they were there later than that. They should have, 100% should have saw them. But my crazy theories. Is Richard Allen Bridge guy? I thought he was for sure. I don't know. He somehow is tied up in this case. He is somehow tied up in this case. I don't know. I would lean, I'd probably say 60% yes, 40% no. But he 100%. I don't think he's no innocent player here. Not once. I don't think so. Bodies left make it look like psychic after killing him, bleach. Pick the butt down. Oh. Yeah, I've heard that story with that too. Public art critic. I never really went down that path, but yeah, it's just like you You don't know. No one could say no to anything. We love you too, honeybee. I'm getting ready to get out of here in a few minutes. I appreciate everybody's comments. And again, everybody, never chastise. Cotton swab, Lisa. I don't know if I've ever. I tell you what, I'm 44. I've never called it a cotton swab, but I could see it on the box. But Q-tip. Tobe's butt is fake, also with the cotton swab. Another one of the lives I was on, I forget what I was talking about. They said Tobe had back. Yeah. We're not sure. We're talking about the Carhartt, Tanisha. We're not sure. Yeah, that's what a lot of people, the professionals, or profile wise that I've saw, that it was definitely it was intended for them. It was fantasized about before. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it the witnesses? But then the police need to say, okay, was it actually a Carhartt? Did you mean that style jacket? Oh yeah, well it was that style. But you would see, Tanisha, you would see that big C. Yeah, if it was someone trying to just looking around like that, Dave, I 100% agree. That doesn't mean that he wasn't going, and maybe 2 was all he, wanted to handle also. But in the open's a lot different. Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know. If you just look at what law enforcement puts out, and Ruckus always says that, and I agree with him. Like if they say this, it's probably a pretty good chance it's a fact. They could fuck things up too, but there's other things that we kind of take for granted. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. There is multiple things that have been said by multiple people at different times. Absolutely, public art critic. Whether that could be explained away from stress or forgetting this or that, or other things, and it's family members and other people too. In the air, there's been all kind of things that have been a little bit bizarre and a little bit off. Personally, I haven't seen anything to think that the family is in any kind of involvement, but I don't know if law enforcement feels that way or not. There seems to be like a tense relationship with him and Mike Patty, with Doug Carter, and maybe that's just Mike Patty. Like, dude, it's been fucking 6 years. Let's get this done. Or I don't know. I'm not saying anything's there, but you could be 100% right, Dave, like we are here. Maybe they go, oh, that sounds crazy, but maybe it happened. And then they spend all this time looking at that. They do, Tanisha. Actually, I was just saying this to a guy I work with. Profilers have said this, that serial killers are the best profilers. Child abusers are really good profilers because they know what to look for. The kid that's neglected, or whatever the hell it is they look for. Serial killer, look for certain people. Live alone. Woman live alone. Someone of a smaller stature, or whatever the case may be. And yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about Steve and Ruckus going to Evansdale. Dave, any connection you think with Delphi? Let me ask you that before I get out of here. And then Coy Cox is pretty cool too with that Stevenson. There's something there. There's some kind of link there. I'm not saying the same people did the same thing. I'm not saying it's the same murderer, but there's some kind of link there. That's all I know. Jinx with biscuits and gravy sounds awesome. I wouldn't be able to eat any because I'm a celiac, so my biscuits would probably suck. Yeah, well, it could may or may not see Coach Kev on a road trip this summer, but I'm not going to tell anybody till I get to where I'm going because I don't want them putting the Frosty unit on me. The people that they fall Frosty around with. So if I appear somewhere, you're just going to see a picture or a quick video on my YouTube of me just standing next to something, maybe. Here I am. And if you have ketchup, it better be Heinz. We're from Pittsburgh. We don't fuck around. There is no other ketchup. There's no other ketchup than Heinz. Well, yeah, that's. Do you mean they came together like to hide something? Public art? The more people in a conspiracy, the more chance someone's going to talk, right? So, what's the old thing they used to say that there's only two people in the world could keep a secret if one of them are dead or something like that. So, yeah. Thank you, Sandy. I'm getting ready to get out of here, everyone. Like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hopefully this made you think a little bit tonight. Yeah. Lie detectors are, because they could be worked, unfortunately. Always check your smoke detectors. Yes, 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 yes. There's always a button on them where you can test them. And if you can't reach it, get a broomstick or something, or like a spoon, something you can't reach, and you can hit it with it. If you can't don't want to stand on a chair, don't have a ladder. Ah, I have a list of suspects that I will never show publicly, public art critic. But I know where you're going with that. We've been putting them up like crazy, smoke detectors. We got a big load in from the Salvation Army. We're actually, the chief's having us canvass. So we walk around the neighborhood, knock on doors when isn't home. We'll leave a thing. We come put them up, and we go back to the station, and the phone just rings off the hook. The people are like, when can you come? Well, tomorrow. The crew working tomorrow can come put them up. Let them do the work. Sorry, crew one, but the jig is up, huh? The cat's out of the bag. Yeah, some people don't even know about being the bridge. You can't. I mean, it's hard to say like anything, without knowing. I wonder if they're just, somehow leaning on him and trying to. I just can't imagine he wouldn't have talked. I think it's completely possible that RA has already talked, and they are not saying anything yet, and they're working everything he's given them. I think that's completely possible. She lived in Vegas also, because I know he moved there later. There's other posts that were posted about him. Well, I'm getting ready to get out. I think I covered everything that I had. And again, all speculations. Goddamn, the last thing, clerical errors. I don't know how many goddamn clerical errors they can have. Goodness gracious. But, it's hard for me to say, do you have like a one POI? I've had probably a dozen in the year and a half that I've been on this case, or like following it or researching. I shouldn't even say on it. I'm like no official entity, but I don't know. But there's 3 or 4 people that are really suspicious to me, and I got to think that one of them are involved. I don't think they're in any kind of cahoots, but like their actions just weren't right. What they did, they should not have done. They shouldn't react in ways that they reacted, and there's just I add that with evidence, but I can't tell you what's going on behind the scenes. I hope that there's we get some kind of resolution at the end. Hopefully, these people go to jail, most importantly, and for a long time, if not forever. And at the end, they could at least say, "Hey, these were the players, and this is kind of how it matched up." Because at the end of the day, this is going to be adjudicated, and there's going to be another case after this. And it's like a football game. You watch your film, your basketball game. You watch film after. What did I do wrong? How do I get better? So we'll take everything that we fucked up on this case, right? And we'll apply it to the next case. Be like, hey, well, we know from Delphi that this sounds like some bullshit, or this sounds good. And we'll just get better with it. It'll just fine tune us. And there's more and more people into this true crime genre every day. And the police, we're here to help you. And the police that know that we're here to help, the Coy Cox and those types, man, they're ascending, man. They're going up in the atmosphere, and everyone stay cool with each other. There are so many people are pissed off. Try to be cool with each other. If you don't like one another, then just don't be on lives together. Don't do things together. Don't comment about each other if you can help it. Some people feel like they have to, but it's sad. But a lot of people have a lot of passion for this case and for others, and that's a good thing. Passion's a great thing. And there's one more thing that I have to say before I go, because I am bad with all birthdays. But where were we here? We were talking. And one of my buddies here who pointed out. Hopefully, Bittersweet Rumination pointed out on my page. Hopefully we have this right. Kiana and Carriel's birthday is today. I hope I have that right. That was pointed out by Bittersweet Rumination. So, assuming that that's right, happy birthday. We're still grinding on that one, baby. Believe me. Believe me. We're getting movement, folks. Movement's coming. A lot of good people pitching in wanting to help. But I've kept you here for an hour and 26 minutes. I have tacos to clean up from dinner. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thanks, everyone, for Frank Meister. We're just getting out of here, brother. Yes, public art theory. I'm the same with you. Theories all around for me, too. I won't get mad at anyone that disagrees with my theory. Just like, don't be like, hey, you're a fucking idiot. Just be like, hey, you might be off here. We're good with that. I'm okay with it. But yeah, everyone be nice to each other. Hope everyone has a good weekend. I'm back on working tomorrow. I got to work the ladder truck tomorrow because my buddy called off again, I think. So it's Saturday in the big city. It's going to be hot, man. There's a good chance that all hell is going to break loose. So hopefully Sunday I can come home and hang out and sleep in the air conditioning because I might not get to sleep tomorrow night. But I hope everyone has a good weekend. Thanks for joining the chat. Thanks for talking to me tonight. Thanks for listening. Hopefully I sparked something and you go check out. If there's one thing you could check out, two things. Go check out old police interviews, man, because there's a lot of information there that they're not giving out now. Tell me what you think about that. And the other thing is the Jan Kendall guy, and I know he's passed away and he was a law enforcement officer, but I'm trying to make a connection there of some sort. And I think he had something to do with the Vegas. And if it was just people were just running from town or whatever, or maybe Keegan just running from the CSAM, not involved in that, whatever the case was. So, okay, everybody. I thank you very much. A lot of stuff going on YouTube tonight. So go check out your other favorite creators, and I will talk to you all soon. Coach Kev, out.